Yesterday, we talked about the personality traits of your Dungeons & Dragons character. Today, we're going to talk about ideals and how we can use these to build a better backstory. Hi and welcome to the vlog. I'm Gregory. This is 1 in 20 D&D, and as we go into DnDaily number 307 here on the vlog, I first want to say thank you to all the new subscribers. I appreciate you joining us, and I'm glad to have you be a part of this conversation about Dungeons & Dragons and role-playing games in general. Today, we're specifically going to get into the next step here as we talk about this little mini-series we're doing of building a better backstory using the 4 characteristics of our personality: the personality traits, the ideals, bonds, and flaws. And today, specifically, we're going to talk about ideals and how these can help us to fill out our character and make them more real and believable at the table. So let's talk about ideals. First and foremost, what is an ideal? What is this all about? And then how does this help us to hone in on our character and make them seem more real and realistic and give us cues for how to roleplay them better in our game? Ideals are functionally and essentially the principles that our character lives their life by. So we could kind of substitute the word principles for ideals. Principles, your belief system is another way we could say it. There's a few different ways we can probably have termed this. However, those at Wizards of the Coast, they decided to call it ideals. Essentially, what we want to do here with the ideals is we want to pick one guiding light, guiding principle, some beacon that we ascribe to and that inform our decisions. What you can do is, like they've described in the book, if you go into your backgrounds in the player's handbook, each one has a list of 6 that they've provided, 6 samples or suggested ideals. Now, each one of these is broken down as follows. There are 5 that essentially follow the guidelines or the general structure of alignment, which is to say we have a good, evil, neutral, lawful, and chaotic. And so each one of those first 5 ideals is going to fall into one of those categories and align with one of those. The 6th one will pertain to the specific background. So whether you're a soldier, an acolyte, a criminal, whatever it is, the 6th ideal that is suggested for us in the player's handbook has to do with that specific background. And of course, those are just suggested ideals. We don't have to use those. However, it's a good starting point. Now, if we want to pick our own ideals, we want to make our own ideals, well, how can we go about this? What are some of the things that might lead us to discover what our character's ideal is? These are going to be done by asking a few questions. Well, as we develop this, we can ask ourselves these questions, or questions similar to these. One question might be, what principle am I willing to die for? Or am I unwilling to compromise about? What is it that means the most to me? What helps me lead towards, what guides me, better said, what guides me towards my goals and my dreams or my aspirations? What are the things that I would sacrifice for? Is there some principle or is there some ideal that I would sacrifice myself or make sacrifices towards either achieving or towards not breaking? Like, for instance, let's say I decided I wanted the principle that I refuse to lie. I refuse to lie. That's my principle. That's my guiding principle, my guiding ideal. In that case, I would have to be willing to play a character who might have a really hard time if either other people around them are lying all the time, or they're put into a situation where telling the truth could be dangerous. It could be perhaps even life-threatening. This is a really important thing to consider. And so thinking about what would you sacrifice for, what would your character sacrifice for, might lead you to figuring out that ideal really quickly. And finally, you might want to consider what drives your character to act, or what is their greatest ambition, perhaps. Another way to think of it is like, what is it above all else that your character strives for? What are they trying to accomplish in their life? If you think about these kind of questions, it'll probably lead you to a place where you understand what is creating this, what's the thought process, what's the belief or the ideal or the principle. Again, either one of those three words works perfectly. Of course, we call them ideals in this case. What is that ideal that informs the decisions and the actions your character makes? That's going to help you figure this out. And once you narrow that down, when you come to the table and you're ready to play, you're going to have a better understanding of who this person is, what their backstory is, how they came to create these beliefs. And then when situations arise in the game, you will easily be able to react and respond the way your character would based on those ideals. So this is one of the fun ones to think about because it's a little more philosophical, I think, than your personality traits or your flaws and bonds. So we'll get into bonds and then flaws over the next 2 days. Please keep tuning in for that. Let me know how you're liking this mini-series so far in the comments on this video. Hey, by the way, check out one of these videos down here if you want to hear more about Dungeons & Dragons and RPGs. And I hope to see you at a table someday. Keep rolling 20s until then. Remember, it's your game. Play your way.